I never thought a single notification on my phone could change my entire world again. It happened on a quiet Thursday morning, a day with no significance, no anniversaries, nothing to remind me of the wound I'd spent 10 years trying to patch up. I was standing in my kitchen in Seattle, staring at the last bite of my toast, when my iPhone buzzed with the familiar cloud sync alert, new photos synced to memories. Nothing unusual. Every few months, my phone dug into the archives and pulled out a memory I wasn't ready for. My son Daniel at the park, Daniel holding his little red dinosaur, Daniel hugging me with his gap-toothed smile. I had learned to swipe away those notifications before they swallowed my entire day. But this time, my breath stopped, because the preview thumbnail wasn't one of those old photos. It was new. Too new. And impossible. The picture showed my son, my Daniel, exactly as he looked 10 years ago on the night he died. Same blue sweater, the one with the fading moon print. Same messy hair, same innocent half-smile. But the background. That wasn't my old house. It was this house, my new home. A home I bought 6 years after he died. I didn't even realize my hands were shaking until the glass of water I was holding splashed onto the countertop. I told myself it had to be a glitch. Some weird cloud bug. A corrupted old photo mixed with a newer background. That's what I told myself as I opened the photo. And that's when my knees nearly gave out. Because in the bottom left corner of the image, in tiny white text, a text my son never knew how to use, was written, "Mom, don't come home tonight." My heart slammed so hard I felt physically dizzy. The date stamp said, "Taken, today, 5:13 a.m. I stared at that line for what felt like minutes, though it was probably seconds. My son, a photo from today? A photo of him standing in my new hallway? No, this was wrong. This was impossible. This was some sick trick. But who would do something like this? I put my phone down and closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. My throat tightened the way it always did when I thought about Daniel. The grief never left. It lived just under the skin, waiting for the smallest crack to spill out. But this wasn't grief. This was something else, something cold, something wrong. I forced myself to study the picture more carefully. Behind Daniel, in the hallway, there was a door. A white door with a brass handle. My stomach flipped. That door. I didn't have a door like that in my home. Not in the hallway, not anywhere. And yet there it was. Perfectly clear, perfectly real, standing behind my dead son in a photo taken this morning. No, I whispered aloud. No, this can't be real. I zoomed in. Daniel's eyes looked alive. Not a memory. Not a faint, grainy photo. Alive. As if he had stood there only hours ago. My fingers trembled as I tried to check the metadata. Location, my home. Time, 5:13 a.m. Device, unknown. Camera, unknown. Unknown? I said to myself, my voice cracking. Phones don't just say unknown. Cameras don't just appear out of nowhere. I swallowed hard and backed up from the table. Something else felt wrong too. Like the air had shifted in the house. You know when someone walks into a room behind you and you feel it before you see it? That's how it felt. A sense of presence. A sense that I was no longer alone. I turned slowly, scanning the hallway. Everything looked normal. Quiet. Still. But my instincts screamed otherwise. I checked the locks. Front door. Locked. Back door. Locked. Windows. Locked. Nothing had been touched. And yet, I kept glancing at the hallway where that fake door had appeared in the photo. My actual hallway looked plain. A rug. A set of framed photos. A coat rack. But now, every time I looked at it, it felt wrong. Like the photo had shown me something I wasn't supposed to see yet. Something that didn't exist yet, but might soon. My phone buzzed again. I flinched so hard I dropped it. Heart pounding. I picked it up. Another notification. New shared album added. My blood ran cold. I didn't subscribe to any shared albums. I didn't allow sharing from unknown devices. The album name was For Mom. My hand went numb. No. I tapped it. There was only one item. A video. 10 seconds long. My breath caught as I pressed play. The video started with static, like old camcorder footage, distorted and glitchy. Then a flicker, then another, then footsteps. Slow, child-sized footsteps on hardwood floor. They moved toward the camera, closer, then stopped. I held my breath. A tiny shadow appeared, small, the exact height my son had been at the time of his death. "Danny," I whispered, involuntarily. The shadow tilted its head, as if it heard me. Then the video cut to black, and in the darkness, a whisper played. "Mom, please don't come home tonight." I dropped the phone again. I felt tears burning my eyes. Not just fear, but the overwhelming ache of a mother who has missed her child for too many years. But grief could not explain this. Nothing could. I sat down at the kitchen table, gripping its edge as if the world would fall apart otherwise. My son died 10 years ago. He drowned in a river near my sister's cabin. I was there when they pulled him out. I held his cold hand until they took him from me. He was gone. Completely, utterly gone. So why was he sending me warnings? Why now? Why today? A sudden sound jolted me upright. Tap. Then again. Tap, tap, tap. Coming from the hallway. The same hallway from the picture. My heart hammered in my chest. I forced myself to walk forward. Each step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the hallway, I felt it. A cold draft. But there were no open windows, no vents. Just that cold, unnatural air. And then, something scratched the wall. Not hard, soft. Like fingernails, dragging gently. My breath hitched. I pressed myself against the opposite wall and listened carefully. Something was moving, slow, dragging, deliberate. "Danny?" I whispered before I could stop myself. Silence. Then, soft breaths, right behind the wall. I stumbled backward. My house had never felt unsafe before, not in 10 years. But right now, it felt like I was trapped inside something alive, something watching. I hurried back to the kitchen and grabbed my phone with trembling hands. I needed help. Anyone. My sister. My neighbor. Someone. But before I could dial, another notification appeared. New photo added. I didn't open it. I couldn't. A horrible thought crept into my mind. What if these weren't warnings from my son? What if someone else was sending them? Someone who knew everything about him. And about me. But no stranger could recreate his voice. No stranger could create an image so perfect it felt alive. And no stranger could know that on the morning he died, Daniel had said something eerily similar. Something only he and I knew. He had tugged my sleeve and whispered, "Mom, don't come home tonight. Something bad will happen." I froze. I had forgotten that memory. Buried it under years of pain. Why was it resurfacing now? Why was the same message repeating? I tried breathing slowly, but it felt like the air had thickened, like someone else was now sharing the room with me. Finally, with trembling hands, I opened the new photo. I screamed, because this time, the picture wasn't of Daniel. It was of me, standing in the hallway, from a distance. Taken only seconds ago, and behind me, barely visible, was a small shadow, reaching toward me. The message behind the photo. Aunt Sarah didn't sleep that night. She kept staring at the impossible photo. Her son, Ethan, standing exactly as he looked the last time she saw him, except for the modern door behind him, a door that didn't exist 10 years ago. And those 5 words burned through her mind. "Mom, don't come home tonight." Open folder, the metadata shift. At 3:12 a.m., Sarah's phone buzzed. The photo's metadata had changed again. Previous timestamp, June 14th, 2015, 7:42 p.m. New timestamp, tonight, 9 p.m. And one more new detail appeared. Camera model, Pix Future O2 prototype. A camera that didn't exist. A camera she never owned. A camera that wasn't invented yet. Her hands began to shake. Derelict house, strange activity at home. By morning, things got worse. Objects inside her house had shifted places. Ethan's old backpack suddenly appeared on the couch. The front door was slightly open. A faint smell of Ethan's shampoo filled the hallway. And muddy footprints, small ones, led toward his old room. She walked toward the room slowly. Her breath caught in her chest. Ethan's night lamp, broken for years, was glowing. Speaker Alexa speaks. As she entered, Alexa turned on by itself. And then, a voice. Her son's voice. "Mom, listen to me this time." Sarah froze. Her knees almost gave out. "Ethan?" she whispered, tears already forming. Alexa replied, "Don't go home tonight." The exact same message written on the photo. Puzzle piece, the time-bending clue. Her phone buzzed again. A second photo had appeared in her camera roll. But this time, the photo wasn't of Ethan. It was of her, older, tired, terrified. Same door in the background. Same house. Same warning, written on the edge. "This is your last chance." Sarah realized something. These photos weren't sent by Ethan. They were sent by her future self, trying to stop something catastrophic that was going to happen tonight. And whatever it was already beginning. The night that repeated itself. The second photo didn't leave Aunt Sarah's hand for hours. Her older self warning her. Shaking, terrified, eyes begging. "This is your last chance." What last chance? To save who? To stop what? She didn't know. But by evening, something felt wrong in the air, like the house was holding its breath. Hourglass 9 p.m., the predicted hour. Her eyes flickered to the clock. 8:57 p.m. The impossible metadata in the first photo had predicted this exact time. 8:58 p.m. She stood in the hallway, phone shaking in her hand. 8:59 p.m. The air turned cold, cold enough to sting her lungs. And then, 9 p.m. A deep thud echoed across the house. Not from inside. From the new back door, the door in the photos. The door she didn't have 10 years ago. The door Ethan appeared in front of. It rattled. Once, twice, then stopped. The silence afterward was worse. Camera with flash, the third photo arrives. Her phone vibrated violently. A third photo. This one was different. It showed the back door from the inside, taken from right where she was standing. But in the photo, the door was open, and in the darkness beyond it, a faint silhouette of a child stood, not moving, not entering, just waiting. Ethan's size, Ethan's shape, but not Ethan. Her heartbeat slammed against her ribs. Ethan, she whispered. The silhouette tilted its head slowly, too slowly, unnaturally slowly. Speaker Alexa speaks again. Alexa lit up by itself. No chime, no wake word. Just a voice, a woman's voice, her own voice, older, broken, desperate. Sarah, do not open that door, she gasped. It wasn't her son's voice this time. It was her from the future. Footsteps upstairs. A creak echoed from the second floor. Then another. Then small footsteps, running. Ethan's footsteps. His exact rhythm. The rhythm she used to wake up to every morning when he was alive. Her hand covered her mouth. This wasn't a haunting. This wasn't a ghost. This was something replaying a moment from her past, or trying to recreate it. Mom, a whisper drifted down the staircase. A child's whisper. Too close to Ethan's. Too perfect. Brain memory break. The night Ethan died. Her knees weakened as the truth surfaced. The memory she avoided for 10 long years. The night Ethan died, she had been at work late. He was alone at home. And she always carried the guilt that maybe, just maybe, she could have saved him if she left earlier. And now, tonight felt like that night all over again. Same sounds, same time, same eerie warnings. Except this time, something, or someone, was forcing the night to repeat. Bust in silhouette, the silhouette moves. Her phone buzzed again. A live photo, the kind that moves for a second. She opened it. The child-sized silhouette at the back door stepped forward. One step. The live photo ended. Then, from the real hallway, a soft voice. Mom, I'm cold. Sarah dropped the phone, because that voice, that exact sentence, was the last thing Ethan ever said to her. And now it was coming from behind the door that shouldn't exist. The last warning. The house stood impossibly still. No wind, no humming appliances, no distant cars. Just the sound of tiny breaths coming from the other side of the half-visible back door. Breaths that shouldn't exist. Breaths that belonged to a child who died 10 years ago. Aunt Sarah felt her body lock. Ethan? Her voice almost cracked in half. But deep inside, she knew. A mother always knows. This thing wasn't her son. It only wore his voice. Cell phone, the fourth photo arrives. Her phone vibrated on the floor. Another image. The last one. She picked it up with trembling fingers. This time, the photo didn't show the house, or the hallway, or the door. It showed her. Older, 20 years older. Wrinkled. Eyes swollen from years of grieving. Future Sarah. Standing in a hospital hallway, holding the same phone, sending this exact photo. And on the image, written in trembling handwriting. It isn't him. Please don't open the door. Not again. Sarah's breath shattered. Not again? What did that mean? Anti-clockwise arrows, time loop trauma. Then, everything clicked. Every 10 years, at the same hour, the same date, something tried to recreate the night Ethan died. Tried to lure her to the door. Tried to make her believe her son had returned. And every version of her future self had tried to warn her. Every decade. Again. And again. She saw it clearly now. That loop didn't start tonight. It had been happening ever since Ethan died. A cycle built from grief, guilt, and something much darker lurking behind the new door. Something that wanted her to open it. The final voice message. Her phone played a message automatically. This time there was no child's voice. Just an older, exhausted version of her own. Sarah, if you open that door, the thing wearing Ethan's shadow comes in. You won't survive the night. You never do. I've lived this loop for decades. break it. Her knees buckled. So this was the truth. Not a ghost. Not a haunting. Not her son reaching out. A predator. A mimic. Something that used her grief as bait. And every future version of her had been trying to save her younger self from falling for it again. Bust in silhouette, the shadow knocks. Knock. A soft, polite tap. Like a child asking to be let in. Then, "Mom, please, it's me," her heart screamed. Her arms shook. Her motherhood pulled her forward. But the truth held her back. She whispered, tears flooding her face. "You're not my son." The voice on the other side changed instantly. The sweetness vanished. A low, distorted growl replaced it. "Then who am I?" And the door started to open on its own, fire breaking the loop. Everything inside her said run, but something deeper said, end it. She grabbed the heaviest chair in the room and slammed it against the doorframe. The shadow hissed, jerking back like it had been burned. She used all her strength to force the door shut, even though it didn't exist 10 years ago, and wedged the chair under the knob. The house vibrated as something slammed from the other side. But slowly, the knocks stopped. The breathing vanished. The cold faded. The hallway returned to normal. The door disappeared. Gone. Just a wall now. As if sealing the loop closed forever. Cell phone, the last photo deletes itself. Her phone lit up one final time. The 4 photos, the entire nightmare, began deleting on their own. One by one. As if the future version of her had finally succeeded. As if the loop had ended. The last file erased itself with a soft click. And with it, the haunting stopped. Sunrise epilogue, 10 years later. Sarah sat on her porch as dawn broke. Older, yes, but peaceful for the first time in a decade. No strange photos. No voices. No loops. Just quiet. She whispered into the morning light. "Thank you for trying to save me." She didn't know if the message would reach her future self, but the wind carried it anyway. Soft, warm, gentle. The way Ethan's hug used to feel. She closed her eyes, finally free.